Hey guys! When we decided to cross the Atlantic on our sailboat, our parents had a minor freak out and our friends thought that we were crazy, like we were gonna climb the Everest or something.
I was gonna climb the Everest once.
You never told me that. The reality of it is, boats have been crossing the Atlantic for hundreds of years, and every year hundreds of sailboats take the route from Europe down to the Caribbean. In this video, we are going to tell you how boats have been crossing the Atlantic for hundreds of years, the route that people normally choose to cross the Atlantic on, and the route that we have chosen to cross the Atlantic. And because the frame of this camera is not big enough for the map and Ryan, I'm going to.
Sophie's. So the first thing we need to understand is the trade winds. And trade winds occur all over the world. There are areas where the winds blow at a constant speed and a constant direction. The trade winds that we're going to talk about are the equatorial trade winds. And those are trade winds that are between about 30 degrees north, that's right around here, northern Florida to Morocco, to 30 degrees south, which is, well, very far south. The first thing that causes those trade winds is the rotation of the Earth and a thing called the Coriolis effect. As the Earth spins from east to west, it causes the winds in this region to turn towards the equator. So in the northern hemisphere, they're going to turn towards the south, towards the equator, and in the southern hemisphere, they're going to turn towards the north, to the equator. The second thing that causes the trade winds in the equatorial region is a thing called the Azores High. So the Azores are a little archipelago out here in the Atlantic. A high pressure system is an area where pressure and winds move clockwise, so this direction. So what it does is it takes air mass from North America, brings it over to Europe, down around Africa, and then all the way over to the Caribbean. In the summer months, the Azores High is established, well, a little bit north of the Azores, and that creates kind of a weak equatorial trade wind area. But what it also does is during those summer months from June to November, allows for hurricanes to form in this region, and those hurricanes then pass through what they call Hurricane Alley to the Caribbean and to North America. In the winter months, so starting in November and December, that Azores High moves a bit south, maybe over the 30-35 degree latitude mark, and it creates a equatorial trade wind area that's much more consistent and stronger. So generally see winds in that area from 15 to 25 knots, and the direction straight from east to west. Now I leave.
I'm back. So now we have consistent winds blowing from east to west at a pace of 15 to 25 knots all the way from November to March. Which is great, because that's the best way of sailing, with the wind in your butt. It's my favorite. There are routes to cross the Atlantic that are more popular than others. One very popular route is to go from Europe, sail down all the way to the Canaries, and then from the Canaries sail across to the Caribbean. If you want to cross the Atlantic, but you do not want to be alone doing it, there are literally hundreds of boats participating in a mass exodus called the Ark, which is, I believe, the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers, which leaves every year, end of November, from Gran Canaria to St. Lucia. Another popular route is to, instead of crossing directly from the Canaries all the way to the Caribbean, is to sail from the Canaries down to Cape Verde, which is a small archipelago west of Africa, and then cross from Cape Verde all the way to the Caribbean. Crossing the Atlantic through Cape Verde makes the actual Atlantic crossing a little bit shorter. So for comparison, the crossing from the Canaries to the Caribbean is about 2,500 nautical miles, whereas crossing from Cape Verde is only 2,000 nautical miles. Crossing via Cape Verde adds a little bit of distance though, because between the Canary Islands and Cape Verde there are about 900 to 1,000 nautical miles. It's a full week of sailing, but it does make the actual ocean crossing a little bit shorter. All in all, crossing the Atlantic, whereas you do it from the Canaries or from Cape Verde, is between 2 to 3 weeks at sea, depending on how the winds blow or the speed of your boat. It is a big thing to do. But in terms of the sailing, we expect to mostly babysit our autopilot for the entire time. Okay, Ryan, you can come back! What route did we choose to go?
We decided to go from Gibraltar, that's where we ended our med season. You can get cheap fuel.
Cheap fuel!
So we went from Gibraltar down to Lanzarote in the Canaries, and we stopped there because, well, our old sailing instructors were there, but also Lanzarote was really beautiful.
Yeah, but mostly because our sailing instructors were there.
I wish we would have spent more time in the Canaries, but then we decided to go down to Cape Verde.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we did that was, I think, first to break up the trip a little bit, and second, we felt that we were so close to a country that no one goes to and nobody really talks about, to stop by and check it out.
Mm-hmm. The primary reason was because it feels a little less intimidating to cross the Atlantic from Cape Verde. At least that was my original feeling. But I wish that the reason why we chose to go to Cape Verde is because of how amazing it is. We hadn't read anything about Cape Verde before coming here, and it is amazing. It is incredibly beautiful. So guys, if you ever cross the Atlantic and you're asking yourself if you should go through Cape Verde or not, don't go to Cape Verde because it makes the crossing shorter. Go there because it is stunning. We are just a few days away ourselves from
Doing it.
We are pretty excited
And nervous.
about to spend 2 weeks at sea.
But this is kind of the culmination of the whole dream in this project that we have, was to do this. So I think it's more exciting than it is nervousness.
In terms of the sailing, I feel way better about crossing the Atlantic than I did about other weird sailing that we did in the Mediterranean, where the winds were absolutely bonkers, or going across the North Sea where the traffic was extremely heavy. In the Atlantic there is nothing to hit. I think that
Hopefully.
crossing the Atlantic is all about your preparations, about how you've equipped your boat, how you've maintained the boat, how you've prepared yourself mentally, and in terms of the knowledge that you've acquired, in terms of your provisioning and decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that we've got all of these covered. It's difficult not to not be nervous and think about all the things that you may have forgotten or not thought about, which runs through my mind on a daily basis and at a higher pace as the day approaches. But in terms of the actual sailing, once we are on the ocean, I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah.
By the time you watch this video, chances are we are actually in the middle of the ocean crossing the Atlantic. And if you want to follow us and see our live position, you can do so on our website. That's www.ryanandsophie.com. I'll put the link in the description below. Which is why we will not answer the comments on this video. That's because we're just not here.
Well, we will. It'll just be a little late.
Yes, it will be a little delayed. In any case, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned a little something. If you're looking at an Atlantic crossing yourselves, or if you have relatives crossing the Atlantic, just know that it's a good crossing, and yeah, if it's well prepared, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. I hope you say that when we're done.
If you've enjoyed this video, consider leaving it a thumbs up or even subscribe to our channel so that we can see you when we're on the other side. Until then, we wish you a really great day. And see you next time. Bye.
The wind blowing from your butt?
From my boat? Well, that would give us some speed.